Well, it's a nice Friday night. I wonder, does it have anything to do with budget? Okay, if everyone will please stand. Commissioner Owens is going to lead us in this meeting.
Let's pray. Gracious Heavenly Father, we are blessed to be here, Lord. We just beg for your presence, your discernment, your wisdom, Lord, in our conversation, in our decisions. Lord, we lift up our county, Lord, and just put it in your hands, Lord. And Lord, we just give you praise and glory for all that will be accomplished here tonight. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Tonight we'll say the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I'd like to call the regular meeting of Gates County Board of Commissioners for May 15, 2017 to order. The first item on our agenda is agenda adjustments, and I have two. Under Roman numeral 6, new business. Number 9, if you will add schools. And number 10, budget amendments. Is there any other additions? If not, do I hear a motion to approve the agenda as adjusted?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. Okay, moving right on to Roman numeral 3, delegations. Do we have any unannounced delegations? We do. Thomas Hill, please. As you come forward, remind everyone who would like to speak, give their name and address. And there is a 5-minute.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Thomas Hill. I reside at 386 Daniels Road, Fort Peak, here in North Carolina, Gates County. I'm also the Republican chair of Gates County, and most recently been elected to the 1st Congressional District Chair, and we look forward to flipping that to Republican. Commissioners, Madam Board, ladies in the County Commissioner or County Manager's office, I wanted to bring forth to your attention just a little history lesson before we go into budgets, taxes, that type of thing. The people of Gates County spoke extremely loudly last year, Election Day. You all proposed to increase taxes, taking it from 68 all the way up to 80 cents on every $100. The problem is not the revenue, the problem is the spending. You guys have spent money on the courthouse. You guys have spent money on this library. You guys have spent money like it was water. Now that we're coming down to crunch time and you don't have any more money to spend, you're asking us taxpayers to bail you guys out. This ain't good. You guys don't know how to balance your budget. You asked us to balance our budget to make sure you guys get the taxes. And we have no problem paying our taxes. The problem is when you waste our tax money and come ask us for more. This proposal that the County Manager's Office is proposing to you all for raised taxes, the problem is not your revenue. The problem is your spending. Now, I would remind you that their energy within Gates County has flipped the county last year. We haven't seen that type of flip since Ronald Reagan days and even before that. This year, we're looking at paying commissioner races. And 3 of you are up for re-election. And I want you to know that if 3 Republicans get on board and win the election, that puts the Republicans on the majority. I would simply politically warn you all and financially to stop spending and wasting the money. Start balancing the budget and stop asking us for more. And Jack Owens, I have my eyes on your seat, sir, more especially. So I want to look forward to seeing you during your election time period in 2018. I already have a potential individual that is looking forward. We have a potential individual for the sheriff's race, and may even have a primary with that. So be very careful as you vote today on the budgets and the taxes that you're going to be raising on us. And Mrs. Hoffler, you didn't get the votes that you got back in 2012 either. You lost court people. It's potentially in 2020, you may lose more. So just a simple friendly warning. And Mr. Jordan, I do certainly appreciate, sir, you being the firewall. Financially, we gravitated towards Johnny Moore. You're the one that is looking at the budget. And Mr. Freeman, you also, sir, you have took care of some of the budget needs, and I would ask that you all continue. You gave the Board of Elections what they needed to work with, and they have progressed. Now I'm asking you, be careful of this budget. I'm watching. The Republicans are watching. Gates County's watching. Thank you.
Thank you. Kenneth Payne.
Good evening. I'd like to ask you some photographs real quick, if I'm on. Two statements. No, ma'am, it's just a package. Two statements, and then there's going to be 9 photographs. Good evening. I'm here on behalf of the truckers that live in the Whitehurst Farms section of Gates. We came to find out that at the May 5th meeting, there was a gentleman here that was speaking about us parking there. We learned about this through a newspaper article. Upon reading the article, there's 4 of us that park in there. Upon reading the article, we were pretty disturbed with the untruths that were told, and I'd like to show you some of those, and the photographs there will show them. He had stated that we park all through the middle of the streets and block the traffic. The photograph there that I have labeled number 1 is going to be a picture of a gentleman's truck parked over on the private section of Kelly Street, as the gentleman who spoke on me is noted. I'm sorry. As far as blocking traffic, Whitehurst Farms isn't a high traffic neighborhood. We don't have traffic jams. Number 2 is going to show the same truck turning off of Whitehurst Lane onto Kelly Street, and show the angle and the width of the turn to show that there's no property damage there. Number 3 is going to show the intersection at Whitehurst, with number 4 showing the trailer coming through that turn, and the trailer clearing and maintaining, staying on asphalt. Number 5 is going to show you a shot of the same truck coming down Whitehurst Lane, which is where the gentleman is saying that there's damage. He's saying there's damage, according to the article that we read, that there was damage when the trucks turned off of Williamson onto Whitehurst. As you can see in the photographs there, the truck clears no problem. He stated that upon turning there, that we knocked down street signs and took out his mailbox on 4 different occasions. As you can see in the photographs, especially on I believe it's number 6, there are no mailboxes on the corner of Whitehurst and Williamson. They're not there. The signs that are there are well set back off the road, and there's a photograph there as well to show, I believe that's going to be number 6. Actually, I'm sorry, number 8. Number 8 will show you that there's no tire tracks or damage headed towards those signs. Obviously, if we ran through there and ran them over, we would leave a pretty significant rut with the tractor trailer. As far as him stating that his mailbox has been destroyed 4 different times and that we tear down street signs, there is one statement there, the one that's been torn out of a spiral notebook, as well as the photograph number 9 to show the neighbor there pointing at the ground is showing where the old 25-mile-an-hour sign was on Whitehurst. And the mailbox that's circled behind it is the gentleman in question. He lives in a straight section of Whitehurst, not a corner lot, not anywhere near a turn. He is in a completely straight section of Whitehurst. The only way for us to damage any of his property would be to fall asleep at the wheel and veer into his yard. The statement that's torn out is from his neighbor, who actually has come in support of us tonight. She's sitting back there. That his mailbox was damaged, as well as the street sign, by somebody leaving a party on the other side of her house, intoxicated, that ran over said sign and that neighbor's mailbox. at one time. That's why the sign, one of the reasons the sign has been moved. But you can see in the picture there that where she's pointing, and then the gentleman's mailbox is directly behind it where it was run over. And we felt we were disturbed at the lies that you were told, but we were also hurt by the fact that the gentleman came in here and tried to act like that we were endangering our neighbors. We're not trying to endanger anybody. He claimed that we come through blaring on the horns. I'm sure that everybody in here has seen a child do the toot-toot. We have about 5 in our neighborhood that when we go by, the little children go bananas, wanting us to toot the horn. We're not going to ignore them and be rude to them. We tap the horn and keep right on moving. But the way that we were portrayed in that meeting, it was just horrible. As far as him saying that we don't live there, we live there. It's not a cut through. There's no way that tractor trailers, we don't want any more turns. Why do I want to turn and try to see if I can shimmy through a neighborhood? It just doesn't happen. The distance actually checked is exactly the same, plus or minus a tenth of a mile. There's no difference in us driving through the neighborhood or going to the corner of medical center that I'm sure that we're all familiar with. But we wanted to come in and set the record straight and provide y'all with proof that the things this gentleman said are they're false. They're blatantly false. We drive our trucks home so that we can spend more time with our families. If I'm coming out of Lower Carolina empty and headed back up, towards my terminal is up in Chesapeake. So if I can find a parking spot up there, I've got to run an hour and a half, 2 hours of a round trip more, where I can just come home, park. My neighbors don't mind. The second statement there is of a neighbor that actually lives on my street saying that she's been there for 4 years and has never had a problem with us. You could survey our neighborhood and you'll find much the same. To get to the point, we drive our trucks home for a reason. We're not just trying to, block up streets and anything else like that. We get as far as we can off the road. We don't cause traffic jams. We don't cause problems with our neighbors. We darn sure don't cause property damage. But, we just want to spend more time with our families just like everybody else does. But, to try to come in here and deny us that we just felt that was unjust along with the untruths that were told. Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming and telling, your side, and we are very much appreciative of that.
Madam Chairman, may I just ask just for clarification?
Sure.
If I'm not mistaken, did I also hear from that individual that came and spoke with us that you drove through the neighborhood to go to Williston?
Well, yes, sir, that was the gist of the article, and what seemed to be the point of the gentleman's statement was that trucks were coming down Willington, turning left into the neighborhood, driving through the neighborhood in an effort to get to medical center to head down this way. Which not only is that not true, it doesn't make any sense. But we all live there. I can tell you that the path that we take, because of no through truck zones and our legal route to get into the neighborhood to get home, we come down Page Riddick, left on Willington for about a quarter of a mile, right into Whitehurst, and go up, and Rick back here parks over on Kelly Street in that private section that was mentioned in the last meeting. I park over on Emily. Actually, the letter that was in there showing that we don't cause problems with our neighbors is actually a young lady that lives down the street from me. She just didn't want to be mentioned due to the whole newspaper article and everything else. Nobody wants to be in the middle of it. But no, as far as him trying to say that it was a cut through, it's not a cut through. We're just trying to go home.
And I believe, Madam Chairman, discussed this with the commissioners, and to my knowledge, most of the commissioners have gone by and taken a look at that.
Mm-hmm.
Could not determine why a truck of that size would go through the neighborhood as a shortcut.
Sir, I've been driving for about 11 years. I believe Rick back here has been driving for a significant amount longer than I have. The 2 other gentlemen couldn't be here tonight. One because he's on the road and having to stay out in the truck, and the other because he needed to attend his granddaughter's graduation. Combined, we're probably looking at 50 years of experience here. These guys have been driving much longer than I have. We don't look for the hard way out. We're not here to cause problems. We're not trying to cause problems in your traffic. We're just trying to go home. That's all it is.
And I will say that the commissioners did go down there individually and look, and it didn't make sense to us why you want to weave through.
No, man. I actually spoke to the gentleman that wrote the article, and he was very nice. He actually offered to to write our side of the story as well. I'm not sure whether he's present tonight. I'll try to contact him tomorrow and find out if he was. If not, he was willing to, to print our side of the story as well. But, I mean, it actually agitated one of our neighbors so much with what was written after she read it, that she's actually sitting back here with us as well, just in case there were questions that somebody wanted to ask her. But, it pretty much infuriated our neighbors because, of the way we are. The kids play around the trucks when we get home, you toot the horn at them, it's just, we're a quiet, friendly little neighborhood, and I don't want no problems. But I don't sure don't want to be loud about it.
Hey, when I went out to observe and everything,
Yes, sir.
it looked like that I saw a very fresh new driveway being made.
Yes, sir.
Did I say that correctly?
That's actually Rick's house over on Kelly Street. He's spending, as he told me earlier, just upwards of $10,000 trying to build a pad to park off of the street. He's the truck that you see in the street. I didn't photograph mine simply because I'm farther off the road than he is. That's about the worst that you're going to see, and I was just trying to show there was a clearer path for traffic to be there. But yes, that is him trying to make an effort there to be able to get farther off of the road.
That's what I noticed.
I'm not sure if you drove up Emily Street, but if you drove up Emily Street, the house with the car cut off in the ditch looks like somebody drives almost over into the ditch every night is mine. You also probably know that but no, we're just, I've never talked to one of these things before, so I apologize, but we just,
You have done very
the
well.
more we read that, the matter we got, we were loud about. Like I told anybody in Lincoln County, but the gentleman that just got up here and said, look, I don't like seeing a truck pass my house twice a day going home, then that would have been fine, but just don't lie. Get up here and tell the truth, say what your problem is, and if that's what, if that's voted on, that's voted on, but darn sure don't lie.
I think that even out of all of this, if they put up a no through trucks allowed, it still would not prohibit if you live in the area.
No, sir, it would not. The definition for us for a through truck is I have to be attempting to use the road as a cut through or something to get me a shortcut point A to B. If I have business within that road that I can't access otherwise, then I'm no longer a through truck. So it wouldn't affect that. But unfortunately, what it would probably affect is the rate of phone calls that your police department receives, because a gentleman is willing to come and lie about it, and a gentleman is willing to call and go, there's a truck cutting through my neighborhood every night when we try to go.
Well, listen, thank you, and hopefully it will not be a problem.
I hope not. Thank you for your time.
Madam Chairman, you want me to return this to him or give it to the clerk?
These photos and letters,
I don't even, if y'all like to hold on to them.
well, it might help us.
Sure.
If any questions ever come up.
All right.
We have some
Thank you.
photographic out.
I'm sure you look forward to your budget meeting.
And can. Good evening.
Hello. Just push this down. Can you hear me? Not used to this.
You might have to push it down a little bit more.
Okay. How's that?
That's better.
Okay, thank you. I just want to make a few comments about the proposed tax rate. Around 2010, a government official came to Gates County to give a presentation of facts about land use. And at that time, we, the residents of Gates County, were told that the residents of Gates County, are one of 17 of the most poverty-stricken counties in North Carolina. I was surprised at that, but he gave it to us that night, that information. Okay, last year, our taxes rose by 4 cents per hundred, and now you propose to add an additional 8 cents per hundred to that. A total of 12 cents per hundred within a 1-year period is just really totally incredible. Even Virginia Beach would not do an increase so large so quickly. And if you collect only 98% of taxes now, in the future, you shall probably collect less as those who could not pay at a rate of 0.64 last year shall definitely not be able to pay this huge increase. Also, it's really outrageous to propose raising the landfill trash fees an additional $5 per month. Our garbage out in the rural area where we are at, on the farms and all, is not collected. A trash truck does not roll by our houses and pick up our garbage. We have to collect our garbage, put it in our vehicles, go to the trash dump, drive like 13 miles, and then come home with it. And of course the car smells by that time with the garbage. You know what I mean? It's not the convenience of having the garbage picked up like a lot of towns and cities across the country. Anyway, I'm almost done here. I only have these few comments. During August of 2016, last year, I terminated my internet service so that I could save money on my monthly bills. I never do anything for fun until I pay all of my bills, even if it means no fun for me. And I just, to all of you, I just respectfully request that you please consider what you are doing to the regular citizens when you raise those rates that high, that quickly. It's a lot. Do you know when you did the when you did the 4 cents last year, my tax went up $95. And so, like I said, I'm not fussing. I'm just asking you, please, again, respectfully request. We're trying to ask in a nice way. Please consider us and the hardships that we have when you're planning to raise these rates. And I thank you very, very much for your time.
And thank you for coming forward.
Thank you.
Madam Chairman.
Yes.
Just while citizens, I'd like to make you aware that in reevaluating the properties of Gates County this year, the values dropped on a whole. And so with the values dropped, in order to stay revenue neutral, we had to go from 68 cents to 75 cents. So in other words, you won't pay any more taxes than you did last year, although the rate is higher. This was to make sure that the revenue was neutral, but since the property values were lower, then we had to raise taxes to keep the same revenue. So you won't be paying more. It just looks like you're paying more taxes, but you're not. It did go up 1 cent. So just want to throw that out there so that all of our citizens are aware that the taxes weren't raised 8 cents, but in order to stay revenue neutral, to keep the same revenue, it had to go to that point, which would not make you pay more, but it would kind of get the same revenue. Thank you.
Madam Chair, would the board yield for one question?
We have a public hearing coming on taxes. You can ask the question then. Let's do public comments right now.
Thank you.
Okay, and next, Robert Parker.
My name's Robert Parker. I live at 510 NC 32 South Sunbury, North Carolina. I read the newspaper. It's a lot of stuff I read in the newspaper I totally disregard, but this particular item I paid attention to. It said that revenue neutral. I perfectly understand that. However, there are some assessments that have gone up instead of down. And these people are not only being hit with the rise in value of their homes, but also being hit with a rise in value, an increased tax rate on those homes. And I just thought that perhaps you needed to advise your public information officer In fact, not all home values went down. And that was the basic point I wanted to make. And I do believe, second of all, excuse me, well, thank you for spending money on the library. I like to read, and I enjoy going there. The other thing is, our county employees, having been a civil servant myself, I understand that a lot of times they get neglected. And when they get neglected, they fall behind like everybody else. I'm a retired firefighter. Last year, I received absolutely no raise on my Social Security and received $3 a month in raise in my retirement system. I don't want that to happen to our folks here. Rather hard thing to be staring an increase in your tax rate at the same time being looking at the fact that you know darn good and well Donald Trump's not going to give me a raise. And also that the retirement system is going to be equally as parsimonious as the federal government. They just don't have the money, so they claim, according to the newspaper once again. But my problem is with the folks that have had the increase in value, and now they're going to get hit with an increase in tax rate also. That's a double whammy on those folks, and they really don't deserve it. The 4 cents was for emergency equipment. I understand that. And I will make you aware that fully 1/3 of our calls for our EMS goes to 2 addresses. And that's about all I have to say. I've gotten enough trouble. Thank you for your time. And you ain't got an easy job, to tell you the truth, it wouldn't happen.
Thank you for coming.
I will not be running against any of you.
Is there anyone else from the first comment section?
Madam Chairman, one other observation I asked the county manager to verify this. As I look at the final live budget proposal, it seems that the landfill was not raised. We took that $5 off.
Correct. After the discussion last week during our budget meeting, the recommended amount for the landfill did not change.
Right, so then-
Excuse me, it did not increase. It remains the same as it is currently.
Right. One, thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to all items. Do I have it's a public hearing? Do I have a motion to go into a public hearing by FY 17-18 budget?
So moved.
I'll second the motion.
Motion's been made and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, we are in public hearing for comments about the proposed budget. And I think I will turn it over to our manager to maybe make some highlights of that, and then you have an opportunity to come up here to speak.
Following the budget meetings last week and some further discussion with the tax office and following up on a bill that was in the legislature, the revenue and the expenditure lines have changed. The total revenue expected for all funds is $15,266,679, which means the total expenditures is $15,266,679. As Commissioner Jordan did point out, this was a revalue year for all properties, and once that is calculated, the estimated property values for all properties, including DMV, is $861,133,071. And for revenue neutral, it was 75 cents per 100. I recommended that the tax rate be 76 cents per $100 of value, with a projected collection rate of 98% for property and for DMV. The fees and fines schedule, as we just stated, there is not going to be an increase in solid waste. It will remain at $15 a month. And if you provide notification and the proper documents to customer service for solid waste removal service that is provided, that will remain at $7.50 a month, as well as those in incorporated areas and those with households with elderly and disabled homestead exemptions. They will all remain at $7.50 a month. The home protect fire fees remain the same as well. There is a section in the ordinance that you have before you discussing commissioner salary. All county employees and elected officials were eligible for 1% COLA as commissioners discussed last week. Did you have any questions?
And, you know, last year, 1 cent of the tax revenue raised $92,000. This year, because of reval, 1 cent equals $90,000. So, you know, that's $2,000 less for every cent that we raise.
I mean, it was 90,000 last year.
90,000, and it's 92,000.
No, ma'am.
It's 90 both times.
No, ma'am. Well, when we did for revenue neutral, it had to remain the 75 cents.
Okay. I stand corrected. I knew it was a change thing.
Now, you've already made a motion to go into public hearing.
Okay? Anyone have any comments about the proposed budget? Yes, Mr. Hill. If you'll come to the podium.
If you, as a government, raise taxes 1 penny, you make 100% profit. If you take 1 cent away from all of us, we're now 1 cent less than what we had. So you make 100% profit. However, you're not spending properly. And Mr. Jordan, with all due respect, I just gave you a compliment 30 minutes ago, and you kind of wasted that compliment, sir. You've said that it's going to go up to 75, if not 76, to be revenue neutral at 75. 76 would be profit. My question to you is, sir, let's say I buy a house. Let's say I have this land. Let's say I farm land. 10 years down the road, the Trump train moves on, and the stock market hits new sky highs. Now my land is worth more, simply value, let's say Gates County's building. There is simply an influx from Virginia coming into Gates County. You can see the influx, we're splitting at the seams in northern Gates and in Corby. So my question to you, sir, is when is government going to lower the taxes? You say that at 75 cents, you're revenue neutral. What happens when things go up? You're going to lower the taxes? Or do I have to come after y'all seat and flip the policy?
And that's a good question. When the property values go up, we will lower taxes. We should lower taxes because it takes a less tax amount to get the amount of funds that we need to run the county, so we can charge less. So if the property values go up, which they probably may very well, in years past they have gone up, and property taxes will be lowered. So that's something to look forward to. When home values go up, taxes should come down. And I've been on the board 8 years. This is this second revaluation. I think the last one we did it did increase a little bit.
Based on the information that I found, the last reval, it went down.
It went down the last one as well. So we haven't had
No, excuse me, the property tax itself went down from, I believe it was 80 to 64.
Yeah, and we dropped it. So 7 years ago, we did drop taxpayers' tax rate, and I was very proud to be a part of that.
And Mr. Hill, if I may interrupt too, and add to what Commissioner Jordan said, the group here collectively have talked about as times come along, particularly we talked about emergency management and other things, is lowering the taxes as those things are taken care of.
Understood. If you would be so kind, sir, as to yield for one question. Last year, it was proposed to take it up to 80 cents on every $100. The county overwhelmingly said, no, we don't want this. We can't afford this. The library, that has been, the money that's been spent on it, good, bad, or indifferent, never mind. Now it's getting paid off. So now that revenue, you're no longer paying out, you're able to keep. You're also getting over $500,000 from the state over the next time period. So in my eyes, I'm already seeing the money flowing, and you guys are asking for more. Not to mention, if you weren't so, as a group, I'm not singling anybody out, as a group, if you weren't so spending happy, the school board could have had their school. When people came up to me and asked me, Tom, we need to vote on this tax because we need the money, I called up a few of the legislators in Raleigh. You guys are sitting on a buttload. The problem is not revenue, the problem is spending. You're spending way too much, way too fast. And with all the conversation, with all due respect, Madam Manager, you have not mentioned the fact that the library is now being paid off, that the state redistribution has money flowing into Gates County, over $500,000. So this seems to be an issue here with spending. So with all due respect, Mr. Freeman, I see where you're coming from, sir, but I respectfully disagree knowing where the money's coming from. I've talked to the legislators myself, so there is a problem with that.
Yes, the library was paid off this fiscal year, and the money that the school system, that is Article 44 tax, is being put into a capital reserve fund to pay for the middle school. 100,000 of it is being allocated for additional capital improvement for the school system. The remainder will be put into a capital reserve fund.
If I may, one last comment. Us Republicans, we got together in October, before the election. We came up with $20 million just to give to the school board. Now, you'd be strapped after that $20 million. And if you'd like to see the plans, I have it on paper. We could certainly sit down and talk over a cup of coffee, right? Absolutely. So we came up with $20 million. And you'll be seeing these plans come out when the county commissioner Republican nominees come out, certainly. But the money's there. So anytime you all want to get together for a cup of coffee, call me. My number's on Facebook. Area code 252-722-1306. Again, that's area code 252-722-1306. And I'll let you know where your gold mine's at. Thank you.
So anyone else? Yes, sir.
Just one question. Will there be a remedy for people who have had their appraisals go up after you raise the tax rate?
Every citizen of the county can come to the Board of Equalization and Review and ask for us to look at their appraisals and see if an adjustment can be made.
Thank you very much. That's all I need to know. Thank you again.
If I may, and you need to speak with Kathy Elaine,
And get off.
who is tax administrator listed at the top.
Okay, anyone else?
Is that all, Elizabeth?
Excuse me.
I said, I was waiting to see if anybody wanted to go before I tried to get up. He looks like he's in court. That's where the pit sits, in court. I have no complaints. I wasn't even gonna come tonight. I have questions. And, got to get my figures out here. But, Thomas Hill, I'm Earl Roundtree, 226 Folly Road, and I do pay taxes in Gates County. And, sometimes it looks like it's a lot. Thank God I can afford to pay them, and I'm not gonna complain one bit. The $622,000 that we already gonna get this year. I'm not an accountant. I printed off all this stuff. Where have you got that $622,000 in the budget? And what are we gonna spend it for?
What 600?
The ones coming from the sales taxes has already been appropriated for fiscal 17-18.
Is that for the school?
I'm assuming it's the sales tax redistribution.
Right, but that is not the number that we calculate, that we're using. None of our numbers have been based on the numbers that the state has given us. That has been tradition because in the past, if we compared what the state said we would get and what we actually received, there was always a large gap. So we went with a conservative estimate of $559,500.
Right, yeah. I know it was 500 to start with, and this afternoon at 6 o'clock, I got this email of 622. But I was looking through it, and I thought it was getting into the school. And the next question, thing I'd have to say, is that, Henry, you might be wrong, and a little bit. You and I have been through this before 8 years ago. Revaluation, revenue neutral, and I'm sure that our county manager should understand this very well, being she's married to a farmer. But when we raise the taxes to 76 cents, that doesn't mean that valuation on that combine and tractor came down. So if anybody, whether it's Thomas Hoffler or Forrest Roundtree, has got equipment out there that's not really revenue neutral, there is going to be a tax increase for that. And y'all know that, there's no way to get around it, but it's not just that way. And the next, last thing, 171,000. Is that number, okay, let me give you real quick. That was what the Senate passed last week, which would give us an additional 171,000. So if this went through and we get 171,000, do you know where, would this be part of the school budget also? Or do you seen that yet?
I don't remember seeing that. Which tax was it?
Well, if they just passed it, it's a part of the redistribution of the sales tax. And the Senate passed last week an additional, well, I'll put my hand real quick, but it don't make
Is
it.
that the one that was in the daily advance?
Yeah.
Article Sunday afternoon,
Yeah.
Sunday.
Senate Bill 126 is what it is. And the only reason I mention that, because that's up to y'all will be getting it, if you get the money, you'll spend it. But the only reason I want to mention that is, of course, we are a Tier 1 county, right?
Correct.
Most definitely, we're a Tier 1 county. We're the ones that get the money. Now, Henry, and all of you involved here, but maybe Henry, you still preaching in Hertford County?
Oh, yes.
Okay, well, you need to go see Howard Hunter and have a cup of coffee or something with him. Because Howard Hunter, and Linda's already read the article, the city's going to give us $171,000. I know Northampton's Tier 1. Is Hertford Tier 1? So that was brought to my attention today. The man asked me from Raleigh, he wasn't being sarcastic, he just wanted to know. Says, Howard Hunter representing Mecklenburg, Wake, Forsyth, and Guilford County, or is he representing his district? Because if he said he was against this, put it in the paper, let us read it. So all of you need to contact Howard and tell him, put away this animosity you may have with Republicans in the Senate and give us $171,000. That's all I got to say.
Good point.
And, we have tried to be prudent because, as you well know, the Senate has one set of numbers and the House will have another set of numbers. And so we're not sure exactly what the final appropriation would be.
Madam Chairman, let me just clarify the fact that revenue neutral means for the county. In other words, the county needs, let's say we need $7 million a year to operate. In order to get $7 million, where we previously taxed at 64 cents on the 100, now with reevaluation, we need to tax at 75 cents to get that same $7 million. So the revenue neutral is not saying you all are revenue neutral, but the county budget is revenue neutral. Thank you. Just so everybody understands.
Does anyone else have comments about the budget? Yes, sir, Mr. Carter. And you'll come to the podium, please.
Yes,
How are you?
oh, good. How are y'all today? Milton Carter, I live in Hobbsville at 1503 NC 32 South. I don't feel like the taxes are quite right. We voted against that months ago. My property value has gone up, not that much, but it's gone up. And it's a burden. I mean, it's hard for us to pay taxes. And lots of people voted the tax away. I understand that y'all need to be revenue neutral, but I won't have to agree with Thomas a little spending has gotta come down. The free flow of money going out. I mean, if you cut everybody's budget, what you're passing out by $500 of what they're asking for, how much is that gonna save you? Renegotiate your deals. And, you know, just try to stop spending so much. Because it is hurtful for the rest of us. You know, the poor, and I'm a single father, and I do the best I can. And I'm glad you didn't raise the trash dump too easy. Because I feel like the trash dump is mismanaged, personally. They tell you to throw everything in one dumpster, and, you know, how many people recycle? I do. And recycling is very important. That's where you make your money. You get paid for those dumpsters. And I don't know if y'all know anybody at the dump that you could go back to and tell them, you know, maybe to straighten up the people that are actually at the dump. You know, and maybe they can bring theirs down as well, and it won't cost everybody so much. But that's about all I have to say. Thank you for listening. Y'all have a good day.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, Mr. Russell?
Good evening, Chuck Brothers, 485 Drum Hill Road in Gates. I'm probably the only one in this room that lobbied with Ms. Lane for my taxes to go up. We got the reevaluation, and I think the next day I called and made an appointment, and I told the lady what my purpose was, and she said, "You want to do what?" Well, it was important to me to sustain that number because, as Earl has made reference to, the backbone of our county is agriculture and forestry. And the producers in this county utilize those numbers as their balance sheet to borrow money. And that was my purpose in meeting with Ms. Lane, because that was a very important line item for me. Obviously, it's not a huge number like it would be to some of my fellow farmer friends in the county, but it's a large number to me. So I guess she took the time and came out and looked, and I got a paper back in the mail, and I think it went up a few dollars more than what it was. But
it did. We're correcting data. It's not like, you know, 57 flavors. We want correct data. And in your case, we
Right.
had under
Underestimated.
400 square footage and some other.
right. So that was important to me. We had a conversation on another farm of why that number stayed static like it was, and then she explained to me that the county in general, that what took the hit was the evaluation in the land, and that some of the properties had taken, or the real properties had taken some hit, but the biggest decrease was in the land. What my concern is, and I'm going to use my brother-in-law as an example. He totaled his Suburban the last weekend of April, when somebody ran into the back of him at the Oyster Bar the last weekend. Totaled his Suburban. Okay, so he had to buy a new vehicle, so when he got his tags transferred, I would assume that he paid 68 cents for those registration fees. So now that same vehicle that he just paid 68 cents for, he's going to have to pay 75 cents on in 12 more months. That car has depreciated in value. So I bring that point around to support our agriculture that is the backbone of our county. And I keep reiterating that. And I think I asked Ms. Lane about could these numbers be extrapolated, and I think she said it would take a very large amount of time to do it. But I think it would be fair to the county and to me as a taxpayer to see how our revenue is generated between real estate that would consist of fixed properties, land, our vehicles, and what our agricultural sector pays in. Because you're asking a man that's got $750,000 cotton picker under the shelter that he uses 4 weeks out of the year, then now he's got to pay an additional 8 cents on that probably did not take a hit when you evaluate it, other than maybe looking at some type of sliding scale on equipment. Okay.
Town manager has those figures.
Right. So my question to you is, and I'm gonna agree somewhat with Mr. Hill, to make it revenue neutral, it is probably revenue neutral on the fact that we're talking about land and homes. But when you start talking about personal property and equipment, it really becomes, I think, a profit center. And to what degree, I don't know, but I don't think it's a real, I don't think it's a balancing act. I think those numbers probably stayed the same and went north, and the other numbers died a little bit. I think what she shared with me was that the homes maybe fell 2 to 3%, but the land is what really took the hit, correct?
With the home sites. Yeah.
With the home sites. So, I can understand that, and I appreciate her taking the time, but what really concerns me, and I'd like to get this clarified, and Ray, I'm going to pick on you a little bit. At the DU banquet, I raised the question, how are we going to come up with the $8 million for Central Middle School? We voted down a 12-cent referendum. We're raising our taxes to make it revenue neutral, and the headline in the paper said not one penny more than $8 million. So is this money that we're going to put to the side, how long is it going to take to recover that $8 million, and when are we going to come to that point to say, okay, we've accumulated this, but we're going to have to raise, the figure I heard from Ray, and it could have been just in general conversation, I just don't see how we can do this without raising taxes 3 or 4 cents. And that's not revenue neutral. So we know that's looming in it, and 500,000 is going to take quite a few years to equal 8 million. So I'd like to get that answer to hear what y'all's strategy is with the money that's coming in from the state, how it's going to offset the 8 million that they've been told that y'all are going to spend. Thank you.
Okay. Before we go any farther, several people have mentioned the 12-cent tax rate that was a supplemental tax for the schools that was voted down. It was not a property tax. It was supplemental. It was in addition to the property tax at our current rate. Also, as it's been mentioned, we have paid off the library. Those funds that have been used traditionally to help with that will help pay off the school debt. And we were making payments of $300 and some $1,000 per year for the library. So that will help pay on the $8 million without any additional taxes. Also, with the state giving us more money in Article 42 restricted that has to be used for education, and it's very specific, 44, excuse me, has to be used for education. It has to be used for education, community college, and economic development. And we will probably use all that for our school paying down that debt, So, we're looking at those items to help us cover the debt service that we will have on the schools. And then, of course, we'll finish paying off the debt of the schools that we currently have from the last building project, the high school gym, and some other projects. They come off in 2021, I believe, and that will give us extra revenue to help pay off that $8 million. So we have tried to look at our balance sheet and draw funds so that we can do the schools. That's why we said, we couldn't do 12 million, but we thought we could do 8 million by juggling the numbers.
Madam Chairman, may I add?
Yes.
Also, we have to understand that the Board of Commissioners are bound by state to provide adequate schools for the county. In other words, it's not just something that we like to do. We did go to the citizens and ask what was the citizens' opinion on raising taxes to do that, and it was voted down. But at some point, it's a mandate. It's not something that, we can do it if we like to. We have to do it, provide adequate schools. So we did find a way to provide funding without raising taxes. I'm not sure, but I think this redistribution is going to last several years. I'm not sure how many. We hope it continues, but at some point in time, we will have to make sure that all the $8 million is paid. We can be looking in the future on ways to bring in additional funds, as Chair Hoffman has said, but that's a responsibility of the county to provide adequate schools.
And in addition, the DSS building will be paid off in the early part of the 2020s as well.
The school will be paid off in fiscal year '22 and DSS building fiscal year '26.
So, all of those, we can use that money that's been set aside for paying off those debts to help pay off the school debt. Yes, sir.
Madam Chairman, I got one question, and kind of getting the cart ahead of the horse, but we're talking about borrowing money and for the school and so forth. When or has the process started with the local government commission to solicit and approve the county to borrow $8 million?
That process has not started. Local government commission says that we have to have school bids and all financing in place before we go to the local government commission.
So it has.
And I have not seen any bids.
Thank you.
Okay, any additional questions or comments about the budget? Yes, sir. Mrs. Saunders?
Can I talk to you?
Good evening.
Good evening, Anthony Saunders, 798 Willington Road. Just one quick question. I heard you mention about economic development. I'm not clear what that kind of entails. What is, as far as you were saying, I think you just said about some funds that were.
The restricted funds on 44, this General Assembly, when they give us those funds, has restricted to schools, community colleges, and economic development, infrastructure, things like that.
Incentives for businesses to come
Here.
as well.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Yes, sir. Good evening.
Good evening. Don St. John, 29 Edmund Road, Corby. We put the 12 cents on the referendum back election day. Seems like that was the first choice. The citizens voted down, boom, 3 to 4 months, you come up with an answer. Seems like raising this neutral in here is the first answer without doing a whole lot of other work. I think you ought to do a whole lot of other work before you put this in place. Thank you for that. Don St. John.
Okay. Anyone else? Seeing no hands or anyone making a move toward the podium, do I have a motion to come out of public hearing?
So moved.
Second that motion, Madam Chairman.
Motion's been made, properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, at this time, we will move on. The budget will be voted on in our first meeting in June. Thank you for your comments. Okay. Next item, we move on to the old business, historic courthouse, and Clearscapes has a letter up here that's for us tonight.
Yes, ma'am. This is in reference to the discussion that was started several months ago about what needs to be done at the historic courthouse. And, excuse me, Clearscape says that phase 1 and phase 2 of the scope of work that had been signed prior to my arrival has been completed. However, phase 3 has changed somewhat. As you may recall, in the April 11th letter, they have recommended that concrete masonry units, basically cement blocks, be used to rebuild the building now, and that the roof and the second floor framing would be temporarily supported and braced in place, bricks taken down, and anything that can be reused in the courthouse on the west wing would be reused. After I spoke with John Zellweger with Clearscapes, he said that they propose a fixed fee of $15,000 in order to develop the structural bracing and structural system design, architectural design, and construction review and site visits, which include 2 for structural and 2 for architectural. Then there's an additional $2,000, an estimated $2,000 for reimbursable expenses, including reproduction units and travel expenses to Gates County, for a total of $17,000. And if this is,
This just came in today.
yes, sir. And they anticipate the work based on what had been discussed, anywhere from 12 to 14 weeks from acceptance of the proposal. And then, once it is accepted by us and the documents returned to Clearscape, they anticipate out of that 12 to 14 weeks, 3 to 4 to be used by the contractor to determine the price and to assemble the equipment and materials needed.
So they're gonna be coming out $17,000 before they even charge us the cost.
Yes, sir. To develop all of the specs.
That the bracing that we see, that's not included in this, the bracing we see on the structure itself, on the wall, on the west wall.
You're talking about the metal bracing that's on there?
That's not their 4,000, that's not 4,500.
No, they're gonna have to, support the roof, so that does not support the roof. And this is to design the bracing. And as Commissioner Jordan asked, this was received today.
Beg pardon?
I said, as you asked us, for those who did not hear, this information was received today.
I think we need time to digest this.
Do I have, yes, because we didn't have time to read over it, or it's saying, can I have a motion to table it until our June 1st, meeting first of June,
The second.
June 7th?
So moved.
Motion's been made, second, any discussion? That we have time to digest it. Okay, any other comments? Hearing none. The motion before us is to table this until our June 7th meeting. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay.
Is this an email?
Yes, that can be forwarded to you.
Yeah, please, because these pages don't quite.
Well, it's two
There's
letters.
2 letters.
One is the mark,
One is, correct.
April 11th, and one's May 15th.
The one from April 11th is the one that you received at the April meeting, where they made the recommendation on the cement block.
And this is the one for the new one, the May 15th.
But I can
Well,
forward
the
that
only
to you.
problem I've got with that one is this letter, the one that has.
You look, this is a page, this is another page.
I'll forward it to everyone.
All right. Yeah.
April 11th is back and front. moving to new business. The next item is number 5, Elderly Abuse Awareness Month proclamation. And you have a copy of that in your papers tonight. I asked Commissioner Owens to read that. It's before that.
I'll be glad to read it. Vulnerable Adult Elder Abuse Awareness Month, 2017, the proclamation. Whereas North Carolina joins the world in recognizing World Elder Abuse Awareness Day every June 15th, and whereas protecting North Carolina's vulnerable and older adults is a community responsibility, and all citizens are charged under state law to report suspected abuse, neglect, or exploitation to their local county Department of Social Services. And whereas North Carolina's vulnerable and older adults of all social, economic, racial, and ethnic backgrounds may be targets of abuse, neglect, or exploitation, which can occur in families, long-term care settings, and communities. And whereas in state fiscal year 2016, there were 25,980 reports of abuse, neglect, or exploitation of vulnerable and older adults were made to North Carolina's 100 county departments of social services. And whereas national and international research shows that abuse, neglect, and exploitation of vulnerable and older adults is grossly underreported. And whereas the state of North Carolina enacted the nation's first elder abuse law and recognizes the need for a comprehensive system of protection for vulnerable and older adults. And whereas Mother's and Father's Days are national holidays intended to honor, respect, and promote the dignity and well-being of our older citizens. Now therefore, the Board of Commissioners of Gates County do hereby proclaim Mother's Days to Father's Days 2017 as Vulnerable Adult and Elder Abuse Awareness Months in and commend its observance to Gates County citizens. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and affixed the great seal of the state of North Carolina at the Capitol in Raleigh this 15th day of May, in the year of our Lord 2017, and of the independence of the United States of America, the 241st Gates County Board of Commissioners. And the document, proclamation, is to be signed by Chairman Hopler and Melissa Lawrence as witness. Clerk to the board.
What is the pleasure of the board?
I'm Chairman, could I make a comment?
Yes, sir.
Is that correct? I hereby set my hand and affix the great seal of the state of North Carolina at the Capitol in Raleigh this 15th day of May. We're not doing it in Raleigh. And are we talking about the great seal of the state of North Carolina? We don't have that seal.
Did this come from, who did this come from?
Directly from Alcohol Commission.
Alcohol Commission. I would say that that probably sentence should be taken out.
It's our proclamation. So we have the ability to adjust it to make it correct and accurate. Madam Chairman, you didn't make a motion, did you?
No, but I will. I'll make a motion that we approve the resolution pending research and correction for the correct statement and location, statement of location.
Okay, a motion has been made. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, a motion has been made and seconded that we approve this proclamation with the corrections to be made. Any proper discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed. Okay, moving along to the next item of business is recommendations from our Personnel our deputy register of deeds to increase the salary. One step, our register of deeds is here, Mrs. Forden, would you like to comment?
Just what I put in, that she very well deserves it. She's been to register deed school for the basic schooling, passed it with 100, and she definitely deserves this raise.
I don't know if you could hear, but the deputy register of deeds has been gone to school and been certified, taking courses with the school government, and that is why that she has the why this has come forward. What is the pleasure of the board?
Madam Chairman, this is also just a recommendation, what is this?
From the personnel.
From the personnel board, okay? Based on the facts that we've heard from the Register of Deeds and on the recommendation of the personnel board, I move that we take this step increase and choose to make it effective May 1, 2017.
Motion's been made. Do I have a second?
Yes, ma'am, Madam Chairman, I'll second that motion, and also in the same light that the personnel board has met and examined this as well as what Ms. Ford said to say.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay, vote is 5-0. Okay, the second item also from the personnel board has made a recommendation concerning people in the, well, the first one is for a full-time position and one part-time position in the 911 communication department to be effective at the beginning of the next year, which is July 1st, 2017. If you remember from our last meeting in May, Mr. Wynn came forward that the state wanted, we had to have 2 people in the 911 center. We were only one of 4 counties that did not have 2 at each 24-hour period, but the state would let us not, we had to have 2 at least from 6 a.m. to 12 midnight. They would let us only have, we could still have 1 from 12 to 6 because of the volume calls that we received.
And this is to make us a level EMD, which means for the citizens, whenever you call 911 now, if you say someone's not breathing, they ask, do you know CPR? You say no. They tell you help is on the way. If this position is approved, when you call and say someone's not breathing, and you say, do you know CPR? And you say no, then they can talk you through the steps on how to perform CPR. And they would stay on the phone with you for a longer period of time.
Or any type of medical emergency, they would have a protocol to follow about what you should do until the rescue people came on site.
I noticed in the minutes, it said that in this second paragraph on the new business, it says, although it is not required by the state, it will affect the amount of 911 funding we receive. How much funding would potentially be lost if we did not do it?
Mr. Wynn did not provide that information.
So we currently have 1 911 attendant on each shift.
So during the day, typically, there are 2. Herman Weiss is there as communication supervisor, but he is in and out. But that is the only shift that has 2 people.
Madam Chair, it might explain things, especially to the audience, if you will read that first paragraph on the new business for a minute. Well, I'll read it. Said Billy Wynn, Emergency Management Director, stated that North Carolina 911 Board has requested every county to go to EMD status, which requires 2 staff members at all times in dispatch. EMD allows the dispatcher to guide calls through basic first aid and medical attention until EMS arrives. A model has been designed for Gates County to have 2 people from 7 a.m. to midnight and 1 person from midnight to 6 a.m. The state has agreed to this model because of low call volume. Herman Weiss will be the second full-time staff from 7 until 3, Monday through Friday, and the requested full-time position will cover 3 to midnight. The part-time position will cover weekends and staff days and holidays. Staff days off and holidays.
Basically, the state has made a concession to help us there. Is that what you're,
Yeah, rather than require for midnight on.
rather than have 2 full-time staff 24 hours a day?
What is the pleasure of the board?
So we on second shift now,
On second shift, there's 1 person currently.
standing here, and the question, full-time position will cover the 3 p.m. to midnight.
That would be the second person. There'll be 2 people working from 3 p.m. to midnight. If this position is
We have that volume.
based on what the state has said, yes.
And according to what I read too, the personnel board has examined this and has, thoroughly gone through this, right, is the way I understand it.
Currently, if someone calls and they're on the line and they get a null call, they have to, they can't stay on the line with anybody.
I don't know what the protocol would be on that, but you can't handle with 1 call at a time.
That's correct.
On these salaries through grants, grant
No,
funding.
sir. And these were proposed in my budget and are included in the budget numbers.
But also, it's not just the hours, it's the classification of the EMD as well. And, our staff, they have a particular set of rules that when they get a call, I feel like they, have the sheet in front of them and they're to follow every step depending on what the situation is. And with EMD status, it will allow them to go ahead and move forward in the instructions that they would give people on the scene. So it makes sense to get the classification to EMD, because we're talking about saving lives. That's what our rescue squad's here for. And then again, the state is making a concession. They're allowing us to do something different than the regular model.
Because it's not just EMD status, but it's only requesting 2 people. So,
Well, 1.5.
but they're allowing us to have 1.5. But it just seems a little bit, a bit overkill, and second shift, we can have an EMD there. So why would we try to have 1 from
The EMD is when you have 2 people. It's not the person who's an EMD. Your center's considered EMD when you have 2 people working.
I'm gonna see that for larger cities, counties, but almost it just seems like it'd be almost overkill. But I, of course, I don't know the details about it, but Billy, you?
Well, the purpose is kind of like what Jack said, it's, if someone calls in and they say, my husband is laying down on the floor, he's not breathing, and they'll say, do you know CPR? And they say no. Then the dispatcher is supposed to be qualified to talk them through it and keep them going. But then if another call comes in, there's nobody there to answer the second call. But it's so that one will not have to break off on a real emergency to answer another call.
Well, it's also,
Not much call.
it's a technical/legal issue, because if that person, if they say, do you know CPR, and they say no, then without the EMD status, they're supposed to follow that sheet that is in front of them, taped in front of them, and say, help is on the way. Well, just with the EMD status, the person says no, they can say, well, let me help you save your husband, or let me help you save your wife, or let me help you save your child by giving you instructions of CPR. And they're not allowed to do that if they don't have the EMD status.
Correct.
That's, so it's not just a call volume, it's, I mean, I know, you know, that person answering the phone wants to save a life, but because of the legal ramifications, you know, if they give a person who says, I don't know CPR, and they don't follow protocol, then we're going to be on, you know, Eyewitness News, because we did something wrong and that person died, and some person comes in and says, well, if they'd have done CPR right, and if they'd have been in EMD status, we wouldn't be where we're at, is what I said.
Well, are we saying that if you only have one dispatcher, that dispatcher cannot take the time to give CPR instructions?
His card taped to that, in front of him to his telephone, is going to say, go to this step, don't go to that step. He's going to say, help is on the way.
Help is on the way, and
And he can't give them,
Even though he may qualify, or she or she.
oh, he's already
They're
qualified.
already qualified.
They're already
Yeah.
qualified. They have to follow this card versus
we can't
that.
do it. Because if a no-call comes in, what's going to happen?
Well, there again, it just makes you wonder how many times that situation would come up. You know, and we could just like, we could say, well, it happens once a year, so once a year, maybe you save a life, so that person is one time a year.
But it's my life or your
Well,
life.
I understand. I understand. All right, I'm good.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
I'll second the motion.
Motion has been made and seconded that we fund the request from our emergency manager, director, for one full-time, one part-time position in 911 Communication Department to be effective July 1st, 2017. Any questions? Additional questions?
No question, just discussion-wise, now that we've been made aware of it, we face that liability, we do not move forward.
Yeah, we can't plead on it if we didn't know.
And just one other comment. It is in the current budget that's been proposed.
Correct.
For 2017, 2018.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That is approved, vote 5-0. And the last recommendation from the personnel,
No, ma'am, it's two more.
two more. And that is concerning our senior facilitator supervisor to move his grade from grade 14, step 7 to be a 2, grade 14, step 7, effective July 1st, 2017. This is already in the budget.
No, ma'am,
Not
it's
in,
not.
not in the budget. And can we do all of them at the same time? Can we do both of them involving Crystal's department at the same time? What is pleasure? To do one at a time.
I'm Chairman, I just had one observation. Now, we've justified the increase of the senior facility supervisor. But when you look at that increase, the question comes to mind, it's very close to the director's salary. Generally, there's a greater spread between director's salary and the ones that they supervise. I think we need to give that consideration.
Yes, sir. both she and I have discussed that, and we were gonna see if the board approved this. And then, depending on what the action the board took on this was gonna depend on the action that she and I discussed.
And I think it's important that we don't set a precedent, you know, where we allow one department to have a space between department head and the person they supervise, very narrow, and then everyone else is quite a separation. All right, thank you.
Okay, we'll take it one at a time. What is the pleasure of the board?
So moved, Madam Chairman, on the facilities man.
Senior facilities
Is that the one?
supervisor.
Yeah.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion's made and seconded. Any comments? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Vote was 5-0. And the final action of the Personnel Committee is a reclassification of the custodial salaries to a grade 10. For one, moving it from grade 10 to step 1, and the other one from grade 10 to a step 3. Also to be effective July 1st, 2017. After doing comparative studies of the surrounding counties and all, they felt we need to make adjustments like.
I'm Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve the adjustments as presented from the Personnel Board.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Do I hear any comments or questions?
Madam Chairman, I'll just make one comment, and that is that when the Personnel Board and the county manager looks at these things, we do studies by contacting schools of government and also by contacting county manager, contacting other county managers and other finance officers, other locations to see if our numbers are in line. So a lot goes into it.
And there were only 2 counties in the entire state that paid less than we do
Out of 100 counties.
for these positions.
And it's not astronomical dollars. I might add.
And they have a lot of buildings to take care of. The buildings have grown in number, and they're scattered, they're not in a cluster. So they deserve everything they get and more profit. Okay, any additional? We'll vote on the raises for the custodial salaries. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Approved. The vote is 5-0. Okay, moving along to number 7, tobacco policy amendments. County manager. And thank you. The changes, have been marked through, and the additions have been put in red. It's easy to follow.
The Gates County smoking or tobacco use ordinance had not been updated in several years. So based on new general statutes, North Carolina session law, as well as discussions with our buildings and grounds department, since they are the ones that clean, and have seen the results of people smoking in the buildings when they are not supposed to, we are recommending that the ordinance now be entitled Ordinance Prohibiting Smoking and the Use of Other Tobacco and Vapor Products in Buildings Owned by or leased to Gates County and Public Transportation Vehicles owned or leased by Gates County. And as you can see, there are sections that we recommend taking out, such as how much secondhand smoke causes indirect medical costs because the numbers change yearly. We do recommend adding the prohibition of e-cigarettes and or vapor products to this ordinance. It will no longer just include the county buildings, but it also includes vehicles and the grounds. And then, of course, those definitions have been included in this ordinance.
And you have quoted the general statutes that these were, in reference to.
Does this ordinance have a number?
No, our ordinances are not numbered. That is part of our codification system that's been proposed in our budget. So after that, if that is approved, it will be numbered.
So basically, some of it is just updating, where tobacco is being removed and smoking added in there. So it's not, addresses, again, e-cigarettes and takes on the, just to summarize it from what I see, it talks about our campus or our facilities.
Correct.
And vehicles, not just the buildings. Madam Chairman, if you'll entertain a motion.
Certainly.
Madam Chairman, I move that we adopt this new and revised smoking ordinance, I believe we're tobacco policy ordinance, is that right? That we have adopted as it is presented before us.
And a motion's been made. Do I hear a second?
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chairman, I'll second that motion.
Any comments or questions?
Yes. By making this adoption of ordinance, if I remember correctly, and we probably need to check general status, but in order to adopt an ordinance, the board of commissioners have to hold a public hearing. So we cannot approve this without a public hearing by law. If my recollection serves me.
That's correct. But this will just want to get this proposes to present for a public hearing.
It's not voted 4%.
Madam Chairman, let me ask this question for as a technicality. If we revise our ordinance, does that rule apply? I think so already there.
I think the revision of it also.
It does.
It
It
does.
would? Okay.
The only way you do not have to have a public hearing if it is not an ordinance, if it is a policy.
And this is the ordinance that we have currently. But this is to present it for a public hearing.
I think it's a revision. I would prefer revision.
Okay,
We already have.
Okay.
It's run
A public hearing to revise our.
Right, so I really need to.
Change your motion.
I need to retract my motion, but Madam Chairman, I will make a motion that we present a revision to this ordinance for public hearing in the near future.
Right, and Commissioner Freeman, second that. Okay, additional questions? And thank you, Commissioner Jordan. Hearing none, all those we're voting on this to revise our tobacco ordinance to hold a public hearing in the future concerning that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That is approved 5-0. Okay. Number 8, resolution to establish policies for approval and opening of closed session minutes of the Gates County Board of Commissioners. And I believe our clerk, Maggie, would like to speak to the issue.
If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. After attending certification courses and comparing policies of surrounding counties, the resolution to establish a policy is presented before you.
I have a few questions and comments. Yeah, seemed like we addressed this several years ago. I'm not opposed to this, the minutes are supposed to be accurate, and commissioners should review them, but it is not a requirement requirement, but I don't see where it is that it's required that we have to approve those minutes. If we're going back to 2003, I mean, this is a management decision. Going forward, yes, but to be retroactive, is a management decision that we can make, because a lot of these things, we don't even remember what really transpired. And, you know, basically, if you're gonna go back over minutes several years ago, you're gonna be only looking at administrative errors anyway. And,
If I may, but the request is not to approve the previous minutes. Those have been approved by default. It would be to review them and to unseal what is no longer frustrating situation. And we would approve from this point forward.
I'm okay with going forward.
And Madam Clerk, this is what you brought to our attention last meeting, correct?
And I believe, and we've had several county managers, but I believe when County Manager Mendenhall was here, that we went through some of the minutes to unseal.
Yeah, I think we did go through some.
Yeah, we did go through because there was no longer pertinent.
No, ma'am. None of those were unsealed.
They were not.
It was presented.
I thought we went through.
Well, we addressed it, I don't know whether it was for approval or unsealing, I don't recall what it was for that, but we did address closed session minutes. And,
It was a very thick stack of them. And I recall that, and I don't know what the end result was.
I thought from that point, it was something we should have been doing all along. Again, we just never did get them.
There was never any documentation and anything that I received that Ms. Lawrence did not have access to that ever showed that they had ever been unsealed.
Well, I don't, maybe we didn't unseal it, but
Or
certainly.
even a policy that had been approved. Everything I found just said draft.
But certainly, going forward, I think we should look at them. I'm not opposed to that.
If you'll notice, the general statute 143-31810, if you'll look at the last highlight of that, where it speaks that closed session minutes may be withheld from public inspection so long as public inspection would frustrate the purpose. So therefore, once situations are resolved, if it's not permanent confidential, I'm asking that those minutes be transitioned over into unsealed minutes.
Basically, that's what we're reviewing for, to unseal, basically.
So we'll have two bullets of closed session, one unsealed and one sealed.
Yes, sir.
And we'll have three books, officially, minutes that we have for our regular meetings, and that's public record from get-go. Then we'll have closed session, and we'll have two books, one sealed and one unsealed.
Yes, ma'am. And then from this point forward, you'll review all of the general accounts and minutes that are taken, and you'll make a motion formally, like you would open session meetings, you'll make a motion to formally approve those minutes.
All right, now, we received minutes via email, we're going to receive closed session minutes via email.
No, sir.
So we're going to just get a copy in our package of the closed session. Okay.
So,
And I guess we had to hand those in when we voted on them.
But they'll be turned back in as well.
but regardless of the content, we have closed session meeting. And in that closed session, there's no comments, decisions, or anything that would frustrate the public. The state's terminology. So that in that particular session, to give an example, those minutes will still be sealed for a particular time period, or could we declare them unsealed from the very beginning? You follow?
Yes.
So
You can declare them at the time of approval to be sealed or unsealed. I do think that the board should be involved in looking at the previous minutes, just because that, you know, that was prior to my history, so.
Okay.
And 318.10 and 318.11 covers both.
In your, the class, the education part that you got on this, it may be in the document, I didn't quite recall all of it, without reading it again. But when we determined that, a set of closed session, a particular closed session minutes is to be sealed, is there automatically a time frame that it's sealed?
No, sir, that depends on the situation when the issue would be resolved. So if it, for example, if it's litigation and litigation goes on for years, those minutes remain sealed until that litigation is resolved. And then you could unseal them and still redact the information if it, you know, if it's shared. If it's shared information deemed by the open minutes law as confidential, you would redact them, but still have an unsealed minute.
Okay, so we need to be in compliance with the sealed and unsealed, and have the two books that we currently do not have, is what we need to do, correct, in the future. Have minutes that we approve, and then,
Sealed minutes?
yes.
Is there a time limit that, once you have a closed session, that you supposed to review them to see if they are available, should be unsealed for public review?
Not by the general statute, but looking at other county policies, there seems to either be that counties do it quarterly or annually. So a lot of the smaller counties will have a once-a-year review.
Probably maybe once a year.
Because we don't have closed session every meeting. Okay, so when we get to the back of the packet, we have a resolution that you are proposing. That says draft across the. So this is what we need to take action on.
And has our attorney seen this resolution?
Yes, I will give. Fine, it's fine.
Madam Chairman, I'll make a motion so that we can have some discussion. Or maybe not, Madam Chairman, having heard the comments and questions of our fellow board members, I make a motion that we adopt this resolution concerning our closed session minutes of the Board of Gates County Commissioners.
Okay, a motion's been made. Do I hear a second?
Yes, ma'am, Madam Chairman, I'll second that motion.
Okay, a motion's been made and seconded. Discussion.
And I see that the resolution, as the clerk has explained to us and I believe identified to us in the previous meeting, the resolution shall become effective upon its adoption and shall apply retroactively and prospectively.
Also, she's given reference to the general statutes that are relevant to this issue in proclamation, or the resolution, excuse me.
Madam Chairman, I would ask Commissioner Freeman, the word retroactive can go back to stone tablets. I'm curious what he means by retroactive.
Well, just in closing, 143, 318, 10, and 11, where it does the last section, says it will become effective, but the last, number 6. 6, yeah, on that page, number 6. Resolution become effective upon its adoption.
privilege for the public, or must remain sealed, not privileged for the public?
So there's no correction to what we're going to be looking at, is what we're looking at. Is it okay or not okay?
If it's like a legal court issue, decision has been reached and they said to keep it sealed, it'll stay sealed.
But if not, it may be public.
It would be made public.
Madam Chairman, I'll call the vote.
Okay, motion's been made to call the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed. Okay.
I do have one last comment. What the sealed minutes, are they required to be locked in a locked container?
We do keep them in a locked file cabinet.
Okay. The next one is, does anybody need to take a stretch break? Okay, we'll take a 5-minute break and then we'll have schools, Mr. Felton and Susan. We'll give us 5 minutes stretch break. And we can come back to order. At this time, we'll recognize the chair of the Board of Education. He would like to discuss with us the topic of the schools or school construction.
Thank you. I have a letter that I'd like to read to you, dear Gates County Commissioners. The school board is looking for ways to expedite the construction and renovation process at Central Middle School and minimize total cost of the project. After discussions with Mr. Randy Baker, the architect, we have thoughts we would like to share with the commissioners. The school board feels we would be doing our students a disservice if we do not return to a normal schedule by the 2018-19 school year. In an effort to help make this happen, we propose the following. Number one, allow the contractors to install the permanent HVAC equipment in the 7th grade wing and cafeteria to eliminate the need to rent and install a temporary portable boiler to provide heat for the construction period. Number two, proceed with the demolition of the structures to be removed during the summer of 2017 to try to minimize the effects of weather after final contracts are let and minimize distractions and potential for accidents with trucks removing debris while students are entering and leaving the campus. The added benefit of early demolition would be that we give the soil time to settle before starting construction. I found today that's an error. We may actually have to dig dirt out depending on what soil conditions we find. So strike that sentence. Estimated rental cost for a 50 horsepower boiler. Now, I'm interjecting a little here. This cost came from Power in Hampton that rents, repairs, and maintains power boilers. $1,500 for transportation in, $1,500 for transportation out, $2,000 startup, $5,500 monthly rental cost. If we were to rent the boiler for 10 months, our estimated cost would be approximately $60,000, plus whatever costs might be incurred connecting the existing lines to the 7th grade wing and cafeteria, plus fuel costs. And we have no idea what those fuel costs would be. These costs will provide heat to the 7th grade wing and cafeteria only. Nothing in these costs would serve to enhance the final product in any way. These costs could be eliminated by allowing the contractors to install the new HVAC equipment in the 7th grade wing and cafeteria during the summer of 2017. The architect assures us $1.5 million would be a safe number to take care of these two parts of the project and would greatly help improve our chances of having the school completed and ready for occupancy at the beginning of the 2018-19 school year. This would not automatically guarantee completion by that date, as there are many other parts to the finished product that can significantly help or hurt the timing of the project. We request the county commissioners advance to the school board $1.5 million to proceed with the above work to minimize wasted funds and expedite construction. We appreciate your consideration of our request, Gates County Board of Education. Now, before you start asking questions, let me give you some answers. We met for 4 hours today with the architect and the construction manager at risk. A.R. Cheston is the construction manager at risk. When we brought this up to him, Mr. Cheston was very emphatic in saying that there's no way you'll get it done if you don't do this. He says you got to have a head start and not have that demolition and the other work that's got to take place as well. In addition to this, when you demolish that building, the electrical connections that come through the administration and 8th grade wing that are going to have to be moved over to 6th and 7th grade wing, and they'll be done as we understand it in a manner that will be a permanent connection. It won't have to be relocated again. Water connections are going to have to be moved, but the really hard one is the fiber optic stuff. That terminates now in the 8th grade wing, and that had to be moved over to the 7th grade wing. And that's the really time-consuming thing. And the architect and Cheston both feel like we'd really be pushing at the end of it to think that we could make those moves, especially on the fiber optic during the Christmas break. So that's what we're trying to accomplish with this request. And Ms. Ranger has a letter signed by the superintendent to me, stating that money is a part of the $8 million, and you know, it will be returned. You'll be on the hook for $6.5 million.
Okay.
How long do you anticipate before we kind of reimburse the 1.5? I realize we're still on the hook for 6.5, but we have 2 loans that we're requesting approval of, 2 bonds. All right. One of the QZAB has been approved. And there's the $6 million. Has that been approved yet?
The state has approved it. We've not been to the financing because we were waiting on the bids. Because if something does not fall within the QZAB or the QSCAB, then it would be a separate interest rate.
So now we have 2. The 6 million. That's QCS. What is that?
QSCB.
QSCB. All right. Where do we stand on that? That's what
The state has said for both of them, we have documentation, they have it, they've sent it to me, and I have documentation that says the state has approved that we're eligible for that money.
Okay. When do we anticipate getting that money?
But we have to have a firm construction bid.
Right.
That's right.
When do we anticipate getting that? The
It-
cost of the building.
It's going to be probably 3 or 4 months at least, because you get a firm construction bid, the first thing you got to do is get a firm project. And our school is not just something that's sitting on the shelf waiting to be built. It's something that has to be designed. So that was part of the process of what we were going through today, which was our second meeting on the drawings. So once we get the drawings approved, and we'll have a committee probably consisting of the chair and vice chair of the commissioners, chair and vice chair of the school board, teachers, principals, and other people to make sure that all the flow and everybody is as happy as we can make it with what we're doing, then we'll finally be able to put it out for business.
We're shooting for, one of the things we're shooting for is to do permanent things, not temporary things.
That's right. And for the HVAC equipment, just so you know about that, a little extra conversation came up on that today.
do what the state normally recommends, we would have a boiler and a chiller, because that's the Cadillac of all, and your state in deep pockets, they're spending somebody else's money, and they don't mind spending. Our maintenance people are very opposed to a boiler chiller situation, because when you get a boiler chiller, you get equipment that is proprietary, which means if you have a breakdown, you have to call whoever built the equipment, and then you get to pay them a higher rate to come out here and work on it and fix it. Whereas if you get a self-contained unit, which is what we're looking at, it's a whole lot less expensive to maintain and not as expensive upfront cost either. So that's why we're leaning in that direction, and my understanding of what these units would be a unit that actually sits in the classroom and is self-contained, I thought.
But for heating and air.
That's right.
I guess my challenge with this is, or our challenge, at this point, we need a construction bid. It's May. It's gonna take 3 months, maybe get a construction bid.
Yes, sir.
So we're talking possibly August. School has already started. And once we get the construction bid, it's gonna need to be in line with the amount of funds that we have applied for, which we don't know that yet.
Well, let me interrupt you just a minute. Mr. Owens and Ms. Hopper, when the different people came in making their presentations, what was the first thing I told them?
8 million, not a penny more.
And how many times did I tell each one?
Several.
And that occurred again today. And in addition to that, I've been a contractor for 45 years, I guess. And I know that when you bid work, it's easy to say it's going to cost $6,256,398.12. That sounds like you know what you're doing. All that money over $6 million, that's fluff. A bid is a guess. You have no control over the weather. You have no control over equipment breakdowns. You have no control over sickness. You have no control over so many things that can cause costs to go up or down. So it's a guess. And I mean, anybody can tell you what they want to about a bid, but it's a guess, and you hope you got built in some overhead and profit that's gonna make a dollar, but nothing's guaranteed.
So, let's say, well, first of all, I looked at the last financial quarter report that we have, that I was privy to, October or September 30th, 2016, and in Central Depository, our beginning balance was $5,740,000, $505,094. The ending balance was $3,987,000, $87,000.25. That amount is constantly being replenished as tax dollars come in. They're deposited into the Central Depository. On average, we maintain approximately at least $3 million. In other words, we don't normally drop below this because of constant funds coming in.
Typically, we do not.
Typically, we do not. So, we have some buffer there, if you will. My point I'm getting to is that, if we advance $1.5 million, certainly in a reasonable amount of time, we we have to expect that to be backfilled. And I understand that we have a letter saying that, it will come off the $8 million price tag. And, so we're not gonna be on the hook, even if the price, fluctuates.
We understand, Mr. Jordan, that, and everybody in these meetings understand that if the quotes come in above what we've got, we got to trim something off to meet the budget. We're not gonna come back to you and ask for more money. That's been stated, restated, and restated again many times.
If we were able to find a way to advance Board of Education $1.5 million, have y'all talked about the way you would request the money? In other words, would you be requesting $1.5 million to be moved from this account to that account? Or would you be doing it $750,000 and then 30 days later, $750,000? Is that,
Mr. Owens, when your children were coming up and they wanted to go Christmas shopping for you for Christmas, they started asking you, telling you what their whole budget was, but they would accept $10 every time. I think we're the same way. Does that sound like a reasonable answer?
so that's right, I understand.
I have a concern. When we go for the LGC with the bond issues for this, and our revenue point or our reserves are dying, will that affect, that's going to affect approval?
Could be a possibility.
That's,
Do you explain why it's down?
You can indicate why it's down on what it could impact.
How about the, leaving my children out of this equation, because they don't pay anything back. The length of time, we're saying, in 3 months, this much work will be done that requires this amount of payment.
This or less. We've been assured that $1.5 million will well take care of the work.
Okay. All right, and has there been any conversation about, I know the timing of these dollars actually being fully approved falls on the bid process, and a valid bid coming in and being accepted. You don't have a time frame for that at any point,
And the thing that highly influences that, both the architect and the construction manager at risk both pushed this point today. You could start bidding and piecemeal the bid, but it's gonna cost you money in the long run because you attract more competition the larger piece of work you've got. So if we wait, which is what we want to do until you've got all your drawings, and then can put it out for bid, everything in one package, you stand a lot better chance of getting a lot more competitive bids, if you will, if you try to piecemeal it and start construction a little quicker.
So one thing that
I mean, we can't satisfy your needs until we've got a complete bid anyway. So it works well for both of us.
One of the things that concerns me that I like about this is demolition with no kids around. Because it's going to slow the process, and things that they'll have to do to barricade and the amount of people they'll have on every corner to make sure that no child, wanders in that area. And,
the traffic.
yeah, the traffic along, and I don't like doing temporary things when you can do permanent things. The safety and the savings of what I think is conservative. the 60,000 for waste. I call it waste.
We have not selected a contractor yet.
No, we have a construction at-risk manager, construction manager at risk, which is A.R. Chesson. And when we get the final drawings, Chesson will come up with a bid package, and then he'll send it out for quotation.
Basically specs. Specs.
Specs and you know, whole 9 yards.
Who's drawing the specs?
What?
Who's drawing the specs now?
Yeah, the architect.
Who is the architect?
Pinnacle Architect.
Pinnacle. All right, we've already contracted with Pinnacle.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
When is that delivery date?
He's working on it now. He's made 2 deliveries of preliminary drawings. Because the first thing you had to do is get a rough plan of what you want. And then you got, if you want anything to work, if y'all design the board table and you tell Natalie to take care of it, every one of y'all gonna have a different idea of how that board table should have been designed. She's gonna hear a whole lot less griping if before she orders the board table, she says, here's what I've designed, can y'all work with it? The same applies to school. Plus, there's 4 men and 2 women here. The ratio is switched at the schools. So the capacity for complaint is a whole lot higher in school than it is
I said that.
Let me get to the point. Here's the point. Here's the point I'm trying to get to. If we authorize $1.5 million, guess what? You're gonna have a contractor to do that. That's gonna need to go through a bid process.
That's correct.
Pinnacle is gonna have to be involved in that. I mean, because what they're doing is gonna be based on what Pinnacle is designing. So it seems to me that we can't do a whole lot until we get some drawings, and then in addition to bidding a contractor to do the total construction, you can also have to get a contractor to do the preliminary. Or if the timing is right, the same one that bids for the total contract can start early. Maybe that's what you're hoping for.
Well, we talked about that today because I knew it would probably be a concern for folks. And Mr. Chesson pulled this out of his book that he had with him. And this is General Statute 143-64, 31, and it's construction manager at-risk contracts. And it spells out the bidding process and everything. This would be followed to the letter. We would have to seek at least 3 bids for the demolition, 3 bids for the installation of the HVAC equipment, and 3 bids for the work on the fiber optic, just like we would in any other process. And this is that statute that we'll be following.
I'm saying, if it's the pledge of the board to recognize that this is the most feasible way to go, I think that we as a board need to figure out how we would do this. In other words, if we would just, first of all, figure out where the money's coming from, if we can use our general fund, or if we're going to have to borrow the money, then we still may have to go to LTC. It's a lot of logistics we have to determine on how to get that. I don't think we can just use about $1.5 million without affecting what we're going to do in the overall package.
Okay, our attorney is here and our county manager. If you explain to us once again and to those people here about the LGC, that's the local government commission. And for counties to borrow money, we have to get their approval so that we have enough resources to pay off what we're borrowing. without endangering the Chinese credit rating and all those ratings.
Joe Fatima, who is a financial analyst with the Local Government Commission, sent me an email, and these are the things that are needed before we go to the LGC. Certified bid tasks for the construction, letter from the design architect that all necessary permits are in hand to begin construction, findings resolution authorizing the county to enter into a 160A-20 financing, a public hearing on that, and a solid demonstration the county has the financial capacity to pay the debt service and where the funds are coming from. And then he also took the liberty of attaching a more detailed checklist with some examples.
So we have to have certified bids, permits on hand. What was the third thing?
A public hearing and a findings resolution authorizing the county to enter into a 160A-20 funding. And then we have to be able to show and demonstrate that we will be able to pay the money back.
And you said you sent some examples or samples,
Yes.
so that means that somebody has done it before he had samples or examples. Indicate what counties or
I don't have that email pulled up.
You think,
But I have a list of counties who've done this within the past 3 years.
what, was it any particular dollar amount you recall? Yeah, I know that there were.
From the counties that I have a list of, no, I do not know what their dollar amount is.
That advance money to the,
I have no idea about advances.
okay, you're just going through the normal process.
Correct.
but for $1.5 million, unless we have that at hand to just obligate it, we would still need to get LWC approval if we were going to borrow it for the Board of Education. And then if we do advance it out of this, I'm saying $3 billion to $55 now, how is that going to affect us when we go to apply for the $8 billion? That's the challenge, is what we're saying. So we've got to figure out where we can get this $1.5 million without affecting the total project.
Because we wouldn't want to advance 1.5, and then they deny us, the total amount.
The way I see it, Commissioner Jordan, is that this advancement will have to go before the LGC. And the LGC, you're going to have to incorporate this as part of a package. It will be a multi-phase type thing. The biggest question that we need to see is a liability issue. At Central Middle School, there are 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. Well, the 6th graders pose the most risk because they're in the stage of maturing a little bit. They don't mature until they get to the high school and not until the 10th grade. So the biggest question we need to see is the safety and the concern of those children, and why not save that money? Mr. Felton mentioned that it was roughly $60,000 just to rent a boiler. The way I see it, with moving the fiber optics, the telephone lines, everything, and the electrical permanently, well, it should save at least $250,000 that we would be throwing money away if we didn't do this. And I think we need to phase it in a situation where Mr. Felton, Ms. Roundtree, Ms. Hopla, and Dr. Williams go to the LGC, because when we built the library at Buckland and also added the addition on to T.S. Cooper for those classrooms, we went with those people involved that I said, chair, county manager, vice chair. We went before the LGC and we met with them and we had a detailed plan and we presented that plan. Some monies, if you go back, were advanced. I think it was like $100 and some thousand was advanced at that time. Not as much money as this. But if you tell them the mitigating circumstances that you have, I believe that the LGC will be cooperative with you. You already have the approval of the $6 million bond, okay? The question is the financing. And you don't know about the financing because it's in two different bonds. One's a $2 million, one's a $6 million. And that's when Ms. Rankin was discussing, you don't know until the bids come in and you don't get the right interest rate. Nobody's going to give you that until you have all your apples and oranges together.
No, that's what we need to see, is develop a phase. In other words, on how, if we're gonna go to the LGC and say, okay, it's gonna take $8 million, by June 15th or June 20th, we need to commit $1.5 million, which is a part of the $8 million, and have them approve that. I mean, this is what needs to be laid out.
Right. And I would think that
That's the way we're gonna do it, so that we can see that. Because obviously, it's gonna take, you're not gonna have everything ready by June 15th. But then again, it's almost 16, how are we gonna have a contractor on board for these 3 months?
because the school board is pushing it. We are truly, truly pushing it for the safety and well-being of the children of Gates County. Would you say that, Mr. Felton?
I agree with that. But if you can work it out and see where we got to meet in June, 7th? If we can work it out, I'm not opposed.
Right.
But I just need to see the logistics of it and how we're going to do it. And what I don't want to see us do is to get $1.5 million obligated. And guess what? We don't even get started because we couldn't get all of our blocks in order to start the project. Now, by December 31st, we have to have those funds committed.
That's correct.
So, if you all can work it out.
I think
It's going to be hard, but not impossible, to pull on the strings. If you don't, and I hate to put it this way, but, we're looking at having to buy air conditioners, and you took it talking, I think, at least 4 to 6 weeks lead time on getting air conditioners right now, because some big company has bought up a bunch of them, because they're redoing a lot of their equipment rooms for some reason and using the same type HVAC equipment we're looking at. So it's throwing your lead times back. So if you wait till June to order them, you're gonna be backed up in the corner on having that equipment in time to put it in. And it's more involved than just putting it in, because sometimes there's some windows that have to be removed and some different frames put in for the new windows. It's an involved process of getting it done.
And I think what bothers me is, can we get it done in the time frame, plus to meet our responsibilities by the laws of the state of North Carolina about borrowing the money and getting the approval of the LGC? Because here we are, May 15th. I know graduation is June 13th.
That's correct.
And so, how long will this work take that you are proposing to do? Because school starts back in August. What, like, the teachers report like 25th. So, are they, in eight weeks, can they get this amount of work done?
Can we get contracts?
And can we get contracts so that we can go to the LGC?
Well, you can only get the contract for demolition and HVAC, before June.
Okay, and then somebody can do all the work, the demolition and the HVAC in 8 weeks?
Well, depending on delivery of asked, and I don't remember who it was, somebody one day, can you actually put the start of school off till after Labor Day? And the state mandates that you start in August, so that's not something that you can change around at all.
And of course, with the high school, with kids taking courses at COA, they start in way up a couple of weeks before school actually starts, so.
I mean, you see what we're trying to do, and you understand why
And the
we're trying to do
logistics
it.
is,
And we understand that we're pushing the envelope on trying to get this done, I mean, but we understand that, but we know that without this, we're gonna actually involve 2 school years, at least, to get this done.
What would you like to see the commissioners do tonight? What would you like the Board of Education to see us do?
I would think, we would like to hear you say that you're gonna do all you can to see that we got that $1.5 million for us to go ahead and try to make this happen. I mean, that's the only way we can do it.
If you all can get the process in place.
Yes, sir.
I would also think that from a balance sheet approach is that you would take the $1.5 million out of general fund and put it in a restricted fund, right? So, and also that $1.5 million will not automatically come to us, and I say that it was done in 1 week. It would be drawn based on the construction billing.
but let's ask our finance officer
Yeah.
like that.
As far as what?
Can we draw from the general revenue fund, $1.5 million?
I'd have to check the statutes on it. It would probably have to come to you for approval to do that, and you can move the money any way you wanted to do it, but we've set up the fund to put the quarterly, is it Natalie?
It's paid for, our tax, we receive tax money quarterly.
From the state,
So,
sales tax.
And that's restricted on that.
We'll set that up as restricted.
Right. And this would have to be
From a cash flow standpoint, that's the reason I asked my question earlier, what would be your draw? And of course, your response was as needed. That helps our cash flow situation to where it's not,
But it'd be encumbered.
Oh, yeah. Right.
I mean, for the LGC, it's gonna be encumbered.
Right. And for us too.
And for us too.
Yeah. Meaning that we have a document and we're obligated to that, those dollars. We couldn't use them, is what you're saying.
Now, our fund balance, we cannot dip below 3.5 months of our current expenses. Is that the same rule for the county?
I don't
Yes,
know.
8%, which is typically about the same.
Okay, gotcha.
I would be more comfortable to analyze, to take a look at, the possibility of where we're gonna move from and where we're gonna move it to and what we could actually guarantee. I can't sit here and say, sure, we can do 1.5 million until we really sat down and looked at everything, the big picture.
Ray, I think you may have stated this, I just want to ask the question. If it's already been answered, you would just let me know. If we were ready tomorrow and demolition people rolled in on the campus and said, hey, let's get to work to do the demolition, to move fiber optic and then things that you talked about, do we have a time frame on that?
Randy Blakely, the architect, the head architect at Pinnacle, said today that you should be able to complete your demolition in 30 days. They're hooking up the fiber optic. I have no feeling for that. They said they could have it done by the time school started.
It would take at least 45 days for fiber optic.
But the other thing is, even on demolition, we're gonna have to put it out to bid for general statute. And there's a time frame for that,
Advertising and stuff.
right, you gotta go through a process, so I don't know whether that's 30 days or what,
It's all on there, I guess, right?
so, while, even if we commit to trying to provide, we will commit to trying to provide the advanced $1.5 billion to accomplish demolition and HVAC, et cetera, and construction for the school year. It would still depend on county funds availability and the school board providing the proper documents and commitments to get started.
But to touch on what Mr. Byram says, and I'm sure Ray feels the same way, the biggest issue, primary issue, safety of the kids, that part would be first.
And you think,
That's out of the way.
the thing the contractors brought up today, no matter how much you do to shield the children from the demolition process, but when they see that big equipment moving around out at one day, it don't matter how many times the teacher slaps their hand, they gonna still have to look at that water and see what's going on.
I don't think they'll be slapping any hands, so.
And I will say, if there are any environmental things flowing in the air, the kids aren't there either.
But the first thing that will be done, there will be an asbestos assessment, and which I think we've already actually got. Then the asbestos will have to be abated, which will take care of all those problems, and then the demolition starts. But you're not going to go in there and start demolishing stuff with the risk of any asbestos fibers becoming loose back.
Let me ask a question, worst case scenario, you get the money and then it doesn't get done, the work doesn't get done on time. What is your fallback position?
Schools get ready to start.
So the school's getting ready to start.
We're gonna have to work day and night to get it. I mean, we don't have a choice. I mean, there's no 40-yard line to go to on this. Did I say?
Well, I guess the alternative would be that you would do it while the children are there.
Yeah, I mean, your tie-ins could be done while the children are there, and that was brought up today. The electrical is not the problem. The only thing that's gonna be the problem, the only thing we see as a potential problem is getting the fiber optic connections.
Demolition, the noisy part, getting back to the students trying to be taught and paying attention. That noisy demolition is what's going to really get their interest. I mean, putting in the fiber optic, I'm sure there'll be, some
That'll be kind of unobserved, whereas you get a big backhoe out here that's tall as this ceiling, everybody wants to see that thing move.
I'm being optimistic. I feel like it can be done simply by the economy, the way it is. I feel like there are a lot of companies out there starving for work.
Well, we certainly could move forward with trying to provide, funding, but it's all going to depend, like I said, on the information that's determined.
Well, the thing, just to help us all, nobody has said this, but we understand that this 1.5 is money that we're going to spend anyway. It's part of the 8 million. So it's not like we're tagging on something. We're trying to eliminate waste and temporary stuff. So.
And with these bonds, there'll be no problem for y'all giving money back to us.
But actually, we won't be giving money back. It's like Jack lending money for his Christmas present. He just takes it out the next allowance.
Yeah, it's just an advance.
That money should come to us, is that right, or will it come to the school board?
It's just an advance.
It should come to us because we're the ones who paid the bill for it.
So we can,
But we can then put it back in our coffers.
That's correct.
Does our attorney have?
Nothing other than time issues that you guys are concerned about.
Yeah, the timing is over.
One of the best things that was said is that, Mr. Byram said, was that there needs to be a coalition of both groups, maybe going, getting an appointment with the LUC
LGC as quickly as possible, letting them know why you're going in this direction to save money, number one, and to do it when the kids are not in school, number two, and see, I think you'll find them to be responsive, I hope. But you need to go ahead and get that committee going and go where if you have to go wild or wherever you have to go and have that meeting. You're not going
I'm sure if we need a motion, I certainly would, make a motion to have our county manager, the school board, in, developing the necessary documentation, to assure that the LGC, will approve, the funding for the demolition phase, as well as the construction phase. And move forward with that, and we can determine how to allocate the $1.5 billion, whether it be general funding or wherever we have to get it from.
Okay, for the demolition, do you want to say HVAC and fiber optic? Aren't they the three things you have mentioned?
And electrical.
And electrical.
Electrical and water.
Bye. You keep adding.
And maybe so. All the incidentals that have to be hooked up to keep those wings running.
And you understand that we need to have those certified bids
Yes, ma'am.
and those permits, hopefully, as well. Good?
That's my motion.
Okay.
I will second that motion, Madam Chairman. And certainly, discussion-wise, that LGC would hold us harmless.
That's true.
All that's going to be in the research and development of the documentation. It's probably unspoken that you all going to have to.
We just have to have all the documents LGC wants, is what it amounts to.
So that's a big job that y'all have got to get the architect and the construction people and the bids, get that information to us.
Well, we can go ahead. The first thing we'll get to you is the bids, everything leading up to the bids for the demolition and connections that we were just talking about.
Oh, yeah, there's something
Then
you want
later
to
will come
do
the
with
rest of
something.
the documentation.
Yeah. And,
But going forward, I would expect you three on this end of the table to be a part of the process.
we have been there before, we will try to be there again.
We want, when you start pointing fingers, to notice that you got some looking back at you.
Oh, yeah, there'll be four. Okay, does any other comments or discussions? What we want to vote on to see that we can move forward to advance or get approval from LGC to spend $1.5 million for the demolition and utility works that have to be done for Central Middle School during the summer, so that we can proceed on. Because of safety issues for our students and savings of monies for the county as well.
Safety of students and also
Safety.
cars and trucks coming in.
That's right, because you're going to put in a construction entrance, I assume.
Also, yeah.
So that will not interfere with buses and parent drop off and pick up. Okay, but y'all have a big task, because there's a lot of things that y'all have got to get done. Is anyone, any additional comments anyone would want to make? Okay, is everybody ready to vote? I say with this, we probably need a show of hands. So all those who would approve working to get approval from the LGC to advance $1.5 million from the Board of Education for Central Middle School for demolition and utility works for the summer, raise your right hand. That's opposed. Okay, the vote is 5-0. So y'all can start work by 10 o'clock tonight. Y'all can get started on your work.
Just don't start demolition.
Don't breathe easy yet, I got another question for you.
Okay.
Dr. Jim Watson, who is with the architect, said you need to tell those people that when they borrow the money for these schools and put it down on the account, the school board needs to get the interest to go with that money so we can make sure we got a little extra cushion there. So we would certainly like y'all to consider that.
Was he a county commissioner?
Do what?
Was he a county commissioner?
No, he was.
I think he was on Board of Education.
He was certainly done.
He was the superintendent and board.
Well, and then, don't you think we should get the interest for the first $1.5 million?
You will. Yeah, you're Jack, you're paying your children the way you want to, if you get the first round. Thank y'all.
Madam Chairman, before you leave, I would like to ask the county manager and Mr. Felton get their calendars and heads together on the possibility of a coalition making a trip or somebody coming to see us, whatever is required, because I think that would be important to,
You mean from the LGC?
for the LGC.
I think it's probably that we will go to them.
Either
I don't
way,
think
but
they're coming here.
how early on, the two of you talk, and how early on does that need to take place?
I've never dealt with the LGC, I would think the sooner the better.
I'll call Mr. Fatima.
That's what I would
Find
say.
out.
Because it's sometimes, that's going to need to get on their schedule.
Well, you go whenever we have everything, you have to apply to be on their agenda 30 days ahead of time.
We're asking for an exception.
No, this is, I'm talking about when you have all bids and everything, it's 30 days. But if it's just a meeting, I would not think it'd have to be 30 days. I'll call Mr. Fatima.
And also, I put this out yesterday and Saturday morning. I'm old and retired, and some of y'all are, and some of you are not. I've got a little time on my hands. If there's any running that I can do to help y'all, I'll be more than glad to. I don't want to snatch the football out of anybody's hand and try to run with it to either end zone. But if I can help this process along, I'm available with it, and I have helped make things happen before a few times.
That's true.
So let me know if I can help you in any way.
And we appreciate that all.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. Okay, before us tonight, we have two budget amendments. One is for Ms. Hawks. The first one is to correct the budget entry from A33.
Yes, ma'am. It is actually budget amendment 833 has the right account written on it with the wrong object code. So it actually debited the wrong account. So this is just to correct it, to correct the entry.
So it should be 11-4910-121.
Yes.
Okay. So this is just a typo, so to speak, clerical error that we need to correct.
Madam Chairman, I make a motion that we approve this budget amendment to correct this clerical error.
We need to delete 33.
No, sir.
So this will be budget revision 52, is that right, sir?
Yeah, correct. It's correct budget amendment 33. They had the wrong code number.
I'll second the motion.
Motion's been made and second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, vote was 5-0. Okay, the next budget amendment is to try to clear up some.
No,
that-
ma'am.
No,
And this is to really reallocate funding from planning salary, full-time salaries, since there's not been a planner, to move it to the IT expense so that we can sign a contract to pay for the citizen service software for the inspections department this fiscal year.
well, utilize money that we have budgeted in one category for inspections to null resignation.
So moved, budget revision number 53.
Do I hear a second? It was on. Okay, a motion's been made and seconded to move money from the salary line item to IT expense for software. Any discussion?
I know we might have mentioned this before, but what are we doing now in the inspection department?
I can't even think of the name of this software, but it is, been here ever since Edgar began to work 8 years ago. And it is not user-friendly. It also does not communicate with any other departments, and this is step one of many steps for our software conversion, that this is supposed to communicate with additional software.
Or is it basically an upgrade?
It is a huge upgrade.
And you take a look at it, you recommend it?
Yes, set through the demonstration, I've clicked on it. Scott Powell, permitting technician, has also used it in the demo mode, as has Edgar Mitchell, and I believe Bud Prong did as well. And this is the one that they selected.
And it will, eventually, we'll link it up to
the
tax office.
And to finance
And
and
to
customer service.
Finance and customer service, so they can talk back and forth.
Cut down on paper.
All right. I'm ready for it.
Okay, any additional comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, it passes 5-0. Okay, we have comments, citizens' comments. Okay, Milton Carter.
I've already spoke, really.
Okay, you don't want to speak again?
Well,
Really? What did I ask?
you said something. I was just kind of curious if the school board had a plan B for the children, say that y'all spend this $1.5 million and the construction company, the people get sick, equipment gets broken down, the air conditioners don't arrive on time. Do they have a plan B for the children? What are you going to do with them?
I think Plan B is just gonna be the same as Plan A.
You gonna put them in the tobacco warehouse?
Just let me think. Plan A at this point is that, and you're talking about the total construction.
Well, no, not necessarily. I talked to you a little earlier. You say you've done away with the trailers, and you're going to try to do the cafeteria at the 8th grade wing of the school, and you're going to have the children in that area while you're doing construction in the other area. Is that correct?
Oh, yes, sir, you need to speak to us.
Oh, I'm sorry. He jumped in.
You have these students in your class sometimes too, don't you?
Yes, ma'am.
What is your plan? I think what is your plan if this falls through and you don't get it done? Where are the students going?
They will stay right where they were doing construction. The plan right now, and there's some stuff to be worked out. We're doing all we can not to have to move trailers in, because if we move trailers, we're gonna incur costs that do not contribute, only detract from the final product. And we're in a position we can't detract from the final product at all. So the plan right now is Mr. Hunter and Dr. Williams feels like they have a plan where they can integrate the 8th grade students throughout the 6th and 7th grade wings and the cafeteria, because the cafeteria is only used, an hour and a half a day. So those other hours, it can be used for classroom space. And that way, we won't have logistics involved in trying to feed children. We won't have Mr. Hunter and his assistant principal running all over the place trying to keep up with children and supervising teachers. Everybody will be under one roof.
So you're going to, really, the answer, you're going to put the 8th grade in the 6th and 7th grade wings
And the cafeteria.
and cafeteria.
And then we'll have the bus students to the high school for PE, or for some PE, some of it will be able to be done on site.
Well, that's nice.
And there's 2 trailers in the back that aren't being used.
They'll be included in that plan too.
And that's during the construction of the new school,
Correct.
and I understand that. What happens if they don't get the cafeteria area in the 8th grade area?
The 8th grade area is going to be demolished.
The 8th grade is gonna be demolished, the cafeteria is not being touched.
Okay, what?
You interrupted again, didn't you?
Yeah, but, what is the area where you're keeping the classrooms are keeping?
6th and 7th
6th
grade,
and 7th?
6th and 7th grade wings, plus the 2 trailers in the back and the use of the cafeteria.
Okay, then the cafeteria. And you have to remodel these in 3 months while school is.
They're just going to change the HVAC, the electrical, and fiber optics. There'll be additional work probably done the next summer in those wings.
We're not gonna demolish them.
8th grade and the gym and the administrative offices, that will be demolished.
Right.
And then they will do a partial renovation of the HVAC and utilities and during this summer, and they'll do additional renovations on that part of the building the next summer.
That's right.
Okay, so you won't be painting those classrooms at that time?
That'll be the
There's
next summer.
no work going on in the classroom with the students, like.
Okay. Well, that's what I was kind of asking.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
And so far as safety concerns, there will be a chain link fence installed to separate the school activities from construction activities. And that'll be monitored closely by the contractor.
Okay, so you're separating the children then
Yes, sir.
from the actual construction.
Yes, sir.
There's a lot of noise during construction. I think
I've
it's
lived
right.
through noise with school construction. It is a doable situation.
Is it?
After a while, you just get used to it.
Well, I don't know about that concentration thing, but, I guess I'll live through it though. That's true. That's about it. I appreciate you listening to me.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
The next one is Thomas Hill.
I'm not sure I heard.
Once again, Thomas Hill, 386 Daniels Road, Corky. Very quickly, I have heard you all vote unanimously on budgetary items. I got up here and I said to you all that I'm watching. Republicans are watching. Gates County's watching. You guys were under the pinch as far as budgetary items, as far as the budget within the taxation, this revenue neutral idea that Mr. Jordan has mentioned. And on top of that, we still have insurance for commissioners that win 2 elections. We still have a pay raise that we've just amended tonight. We have a new position that you all have implemented tonight. And by this process, I'm leaving with more questions than I got answers. Very quickly, 30 seconds. I sent the old sheriff, Ed Webb, a North Carolina 132, which is a Freedom of Information request. That request is unanswered for well over 45 days. You have 30 days to answer that request. When that request was not answered, my team of lawyers sent him information. And within about 72 hours, we got the response we were looking for. Mr. Godwin, I'm going to send your client a Freedom of Information request with about 30 questions, and it will arrive in your office probably within the next 7 to 10 days or so. Us Republicans, we have a lot more questions than we have answers tonight. Thank you.
To correct one thing you said, commissioners do not get insurance unless they, for permanent insurance unless they've served 3 complete terms.
When I spoke with Ms. Roundtree approximately 18 months ago, it was discussed about the insurance about 2. If it was amended 3 in either case, we are still paying for that. So we have an issue with that either way. Rather it be 2, 3, 1, 5, we have an issue with paying for your insurance. If your third time, then you get this insurance. So in either case, when I spoke with Ms. Roundtree in her office approximately 18 months ago, this was an item of conversation. Like I said, I'll be sending you all freedom of information requests, and they'll be on your desk in the next 7 to 10 days. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I have,
You need to go down.
I have two comments I'd like to make, both of them are positive. First one is today in our meeting, we were talking about special needs children and behavior of children in the schools. Mr. Hunter's been with our school for 1 year now. He spoke with great pride about the behavior of Gates County students and how much better behaved they are than where he's been before. And I think that speaks to all of us, and I think y'all need to hear it. Because he's an outsider, but he was very positive. The other thing is you get a lot of complaints about the trash site. I don't know the gentleman's name. He's an old black guy. He's older than Henry and me, I think, that works at Ewell. But I went down there a weekend before this passed to dump trash. All the dumpsters were running over to the point that they were putting the trash for the compactor in the metal container because everything else is filled up. That old fellow was climbing up on the household waste container, moving bags and rushing to help people get stuff out of their cars, where most people sit back and watch. But that old guy did a heck of a job and does every time I'm there. You need to hear you got people doing a good job, and he certainly is doing an exemplary job. Thank you.
His name is Mr. Powell.
Okay. I didn't know his name, but he's a fine guy.
You're talking about the tall,
Do what?
the tall fellow.
Yeah. And I'm deaf, in case you couldn't tell.
Does anyone else have public comment? Okay, no commissioners' comments. We do thank you for one of you for coming tonight. I would like to say that I put a lot of faith and confidence in our county employees. I think they do a good job and they work hard. It's hard working for the public because everybody is watching you 24/7 every time you do anything. And, they are under scrutiny and they try to do the best they can. We do have limited resources and we do try to make adjustments when possible to make our pay competitive with all in the surrounding counties so that we don't lose workforce, because every time you have to train someone, that incurs additional expenses too. And so we work hard, they work hard, and we try to serve the citizens of the county. And just like everything else, our costs go up too. Our Water Commission charges us more, we're a member of that. The PGC, the solid waste, our funds, our fees have gone up from that. That is the 3 counties that does solid waste. Fees have gone up for us on that. There's so many things. We were able to get insurance this year at a cheaper rate, but with a lower deductible for our personnel. We are looking to try to save money, but we also have to try to, by general statutes, cover the services that we have to cover. And it's a hard job. And the county manager and the people who work in our county do a good job for us. And I just want to give them their accolade.
We do have good employees, and everybody gets evaluated. Everybody goes through an evaluation process with their department head, and they're scored, and their achievements are notated, and their pay increases come along, with that when it's merited, when it's warranted. And we have lost employees in the past because other counties could pay them more. And so certainly that is taken into consideration, so I'm glad to see you bring that up. Good to see everybody here. You know, everybody who comes to the podium has that right to come and voice their concerns, to ask the questions and get more knowledge about what's going on in the county. So I think as far as my colleagues are sit here on this board, that podium will be known as a place of freedom of speech. Thank you for being here.
I too thank everyone for being here and do appreciate concerns. One of the reasons I'm a commissioner today because I've been where you sit now, and I was concerned about the county. And we are taxpayers. I think all of us sitting behind this board are taxpayers as well, so when we raise taxes, we raise it on ourselves too. It's not an isolated situation. So we do appreciate the fact that the citizens are concerned, and it helps us just to be reminded that as you're concerned, we should be concerned also, because whatever we do, we're affecting ourselves as well as you. So thank you for the input, and keep up the good work.
Solid waste has been spoken of a couple of times. I just want to make a couple of comments on the Carla and the school board too. You might not know it, but when we take something down there to the trash dumps, we got 5 in the county, I believe. When we take them down there, it costs $68 a ton to haul that stuff away. But if you put it in the recycle bin, and a lot of things can go in there, we get paid $12 a ton for that. So you got an $80 difference. And so just encourage all your friends and neighbors, and I hope the school board is encouraging all the schools to collect all of their recyclables and put them in the right bin, because it does make a few dollars difference in the county budget. As Ms. Hopkins said, it's costing everybody more this year, so the more we can get back, the better off we'll be.
And I certainly do appreciate everyone's attendance here, but more than that, even your interaction with us and with what your thoughts are. We hear from a lot of you. We hear from your telephone calls, we run into you, but being here and voicing your opinion and bringing things in front of us certainly causes us to make decisions based on some of those facts as well. So we appreciate that. The interaction has been very good tonight, and it's probably one of the largest crowds we've had in a while. So appreciate your attendance and appreciate your interaction.
I also would like to say I thank you for your civility. As we watch state and national, sometimes that is not the case. And I think you can see that when we talk in a civil manner to each other, we can come to better conclusions and solve the problems that we are confronted with. It takes a dialogue. And nobody has all the answers. And we don't claim to have all the answers up here. But we listen and we try to figure out what we can do for the county. Because like Mr. George says, we are all taxpayers, we're all citizens. I was born, well, I wasn't born here, I was born in Suffolk and came because there was no hospital here. But I've lived here all my life. I'll die here, I hope, and I want the best for our county. So thank you, and at that, do I have a motion to adjourn? Okay, we have to go into closed session.
I'll make a motion. Go into closed session to the court of the Sheriff's Statute 143, 18, 4, 5, and 6.
Okay, now motion's been made, is there a second? Second, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay, we'll go to closed session, let's take a 5-minute break. I will entertain a motion to come out of closed session.
So moved. Second.
Motion's been made and properly second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
At this time, we'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we instruct our county manager to write a letter to Howard Hunter Jr. expressing our desire that he would back this redistribution of the tax rather than trying to kill it.
Article 44.
Second.
Motion's been made and properly second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. And I forgot, Ms. Lane, we had asked her to bring us packets to review about taxes. Due to the lateness of the hour, I bet we wait and do this.
And just pass the mic to, well, if they're in district, pass the mic to the district.
Okay, Gatesville,
We have our homework.
Howell, Reynoldston, Hazlet, Holly Grove, Highland Mill, Mittensville.
Do I have it also?
You got it, Bill.
I got Huntsville and Mintonville.
How about
Part of
Hazel?
mine is,
Do I get Hazel?
we wasn't even,
Hazlett?
I think so, yes, sir.
Mr. Jordan, I'll try to, look at Hunter's Mill and, try to drop it by your house and we can, I don't need Holly Grove.
All right.
Okay, so that's how I'm gonna work, for it. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Motion's been made properly second. I know there's no discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.